Hi, and good afternoon to this afternoon's LinkedIn Live event. What's keeping you awake at night? Make better decisions that grow your business. So my name is Damian Connolly, and I'm the founder and the managing director of Scorecard Business Solutions. And we're an accountancy practice with offices both in London and in Dublin. And we provide, broadly speaking, outsourced accountancy bookkeeping services, but also a unique outsourced finance team solution for growing businesses. And what I spend more of my time doing week in, week out now is acting as a fractional CFO for typically £1 million, euro turnover growing businesses, and also working with business owners who have grown their business and are now thinking more about retirement, perhaps selling their business, and providing them sort of a structured program to take them from where they are now to properly planned for an exit or a sale of their business so that they can end up with hopefully a life-changing sum of money on that transaction. That also means that we maximize the value of their business and hopefully minimize some of the stress of getting through that transaction process. So that's a little bit about me. Today, what we really want to talk about is decision-making in growing businesses and SMEs, decision-making for business owners. So if, like me, you are a business owner, then you probably have decisions flying at you from left, right, and center. The life of a business owner is around decisions. Some of them are big decisions, some of them are just small decisions. But probably today you'd have had to make a variety of decisions already, whether it's from a staff member looking for the petty cash, maybe somebody looking for how should I respond to this client, or maybe that something's come across your desk that you need to make a decision about whether to spend your time doing a proposal or taking on a piece of work or potentially outsourcing it to someone else. So decisions never end. What you're trying to do is make sure that you're selecting one of the better options. So it's a good decision for your business. Sometimes it's a bad decision, or sometimes it's no decision at all. You just haven't got the time or the opportunity to make a decision. And obviously, if you don't make any decision, you're making a decision not to make a decision. So decision making is a key part of all business owners' lives. And so we just need to make sure that, and I think for all of us, the aim is really to try and ensure that the decisions you end up making result in what are good decisions and good outcomes rather than bad outcomes or bad decisions. Because the more good decisions you make, the more likely it is that your business will grow and be successful and achieve what it is you want to achieve in your business. So I suppose the question really comes down to, is there some magic to being able to make good decisions more often than bad decisions? And so that's what we're going to talk about through the course of our event today, in broad terms, but that's what we're going to try and get to the bottom of. And what I want to try and do today as well is highlight some of my experience from working in larger, growing, and ultimately successful businesses, and trying to work out, or showcase or explain what the processes or what the steps that they took that made them a successful business and allowed them to grow in the way that they wanted to grow. So examples might be a business I've worked in that was a property investment and property services business. And over a period of 3.5 years, it went from about £5 million turnover up to 65 million. And that was a sequence of more good rather than bad decisions. Equally, I was in a payroll solutions business for recruitment sector. And again, it grew from 25 million to about 40 million over a space of about 4 years. And again, there were some really fantastic decisions made along the way, but again, more often good rather than bad decisions. And then I also worked in a marketing agency, which was about a £40 million turnover backed by private equity. But the problem was it was during the recession when the UK marketplace for marketing agencies was falling through the floor. So there was an overall decision made to try and pivot slightly away from the UK market onto overseas or international markets. So again, there were a lot of decisions made along the way, most of which worked out well. One or two didn't work out well, because even if you make the best possible decision given the information you have, some of those just won't be successful. So it's about trying to minimize those and get more of your decisions delivering rather than less. So there's a couple of examples, and I want to use those as examples of what to do and what not to do to get those good decisions that make your business grow rather than stall it. And so for a moment, if we're talking about bad decisions and the results and the outcomes of making bad decisions, well, it's opportunities that are missed or opportunities that aren't taken a hold of. It's typically poor decisions made, or maybe decisions that are made without the right information, or decisions delayed in being taken. And generally what that means, you end up with surprise or unexpected costs resulting from that delay, from that not making a decision, etc. And sometimes it can even end up in the loss of clients, the loss of key staff, or maybe some changes to your culture where there's a lack of motivation because people just are not seeing the progress that they're expecting to see. So typically, going back to the business that I have worked in where it's worked well, I think the problem for SMEs is that they've usually a lack of knowledge, there's maybe a lack of information, or just a lack of options when you come to make decisions on these big issues. And that's where these business owners struggle to make really good decisions that then grow their business. So when we talk about the big decisions, what are those types of decisions that you will face during the course of your business day and your business week? What's decisions around things like, not at the petty cash, but things around, should we hire that additional member of staff, that salesperson, that admin person? Should we go for that marketing campaign that's been pitched to us that should change the business or help to grow it? Should we say yes to it or not? Should we take the opportunity to expand our business overseas or open that regional office? Or it could be, should we invest in that newfangled CRM system, or should we invest in our customer service or operations team in one way or another? Or it could even be, for a business owner, should I take that dividend in 3 months' time that'll allow me to buy that house that I've been hoping to get into, my dream house? And again, it's about, that's a big decision for you to take in your business. And again, as we pointed out already, get some of those decisions wrong and your business stalls. Get more of those decisions or most of those decisions right, and your business grows in the way that you would like it to. So I tend to talk about tools. You need tools to be able to make good decisions. And in those bigger businesses that have been successful, they have used these tools I'm going to explain to you now, but they use them consistently. They use them throughout the course of all of their decisions. They use them throughout the whole of the business. And what those tools are really about is about knowing about 3 areas. I've kind of brought it down to 3 areas, is knowing about 3 areas in the business to be able to make the best decisions possible. And those areas are performance, planning, and cash. So let me just go through them again. Performance, planning, and cash. And so when we're talking about performance, this is really about understanding what's happening in the business right now. It's about identifying what's working well in the business and what's working not so well in the business. And what that really comes down to is simple things. You'll all be familiar with these approaches and these tools, but it's about using them consistently, using them well within your business. So what it comes down to is management accounts, whether they're monthly management accounts or quarterly management accounts. It's management accounts, the ability to understand what happened last month and get under the skin of where things are going well, where things aren't going quite so well. So it's management accounts. Hand in hand with that goes management accounts meetings, management meetings, board meetings, whatever the term is for them. But I think it's the management information and then sitting down, the business owner sitting down, the core management team sitting down and working through and understanding the numbers, questioning things as to why they look like they should do or they shouldn't do, and then being able to debate between them and discuss what they need to do to make some changes or to make some improvements over the coming month. And alongside that as well goes what I call KPIs, key performance indicators. Again, relatively simple. Most of you out there will have heard of these, but it's about understanding your margins. It's about understanding your marketing, your sales numbers, how many leads, how many new sales, what's your retention like? Have you lost any customers? What's your conversion rates from leads to new sales? It's about, what's the value of your customer? Who are your top customers? What makes them your top customers? What are they taking? What are they not taking? They're all, some of them are financial, some of them are non-financial numbers, but it's that combination of knowing what's happening in your business right now and understanding under the skin or under the bonnet what's working, what's not working, what's performing well, what isn't performing well, and then having that meeting with the people who are running the business and understand the business so that they can take the right steps and be able to take the right decisions based on the right information in front of them. So then we move on to planning. Planning is knowing where you're trying to get to, knowing where you're going, knowing what your target is for the next 6 or 12 months and how you're going to get there. Because if you know you want to double your turnover, then you know that at some point you're going to have to increase your sales people. You're going to have to invest in marketing. But the plan is you put that into your planning, and then you know when you need to start looking for that salesperson, you know what you need to pay them, and you know what your expectations are in terms of what they'll generate for the business. So it's really all about an annual budget. Set your budget up for the next 12 months. Again, most people will be familiar with this and may or may not do it, but this is the key thing: having the budget, knowing what your target is, knowing what you need to do, when you need to do it, what those timeframes are, and what that engenders within the business is the actions that move those things forward. So that falls into the planning sides of things. And then finally, it's about cash. If you've been on any previous LinkedIn Live events, you'll know that cash is a big topic for me. And that's because cash is king. Every decision that you make, from what I mentioned earlier, will involve cash. If you're going to recruit a salesperson, there'll be a salary. If you're going to start a new marketing campaign, there'll be cash paid out for that. Anything you do involves some spend, and therefore understanding your cash and being able to look forward. So a cash forecast is what we're talking about here. Being able to look ahead and see what cash is in your bank today, what your expectation is in terms of cash coming into the business, and when you think cash is going to come out. That's absolutely key. And also then, if you have your performance figures, if you know your planning and understand your planning and the wheres and whys of it, and you also know your cash inside out, that's the backbone of any decision that you will make. So then tied into that as well is how do you make those tools available? How do you drive them throughout the business in a consistent way that then you can have them available and use them when you need to come to make those big decisions every time? And again, it's nothing particularly groundbreaking, nothing particularly unusual or different. It's about getting into that consistently, doing those simple steps really, really well. So I then put it in the context of daily things that need to be done, weekly things that should be done, monthly things that need to be done, and then having your annual steps as well. So in terms of daily, that might be checking the cash in the bank. Most business owners do that anyway, but if you're not, maybe check the cash in the bank on a daily basis. Check the number of sales that have been made. Flag up any customers that have decided to leave your business. They're your maybe daily checks. On a weekly basis, then you might update your cash flow forecast for the next 3, 4, 5 weeks. Maybe you look at your numbers of sales, your numbers of leads, your conversion rates on a weekly basis and compare that to your budget. Again, you look at your KPIs in broad terms and also identify the value of your sales, and that will help you get a finger in the air in terms of whether you're hitting your target or your budget for that week. Monthly, month-end close all the books, gather all the information in, produce your management accounts, identify and update your cash flow forecast again, and then have your management accounts meeting. Have an agenda on that as well. That's your monthly process. Quarterly then would be update your cash flow forecast again, So remember, cash is king. So it's all about prioritizing, highlighting, and then taking the steps necessary to make sure that you're all over your cash figures. And then maybe also compare your performance to date on that quarterly basis against your budget. So if you're not doing it on a monthly basis, part of your management accounts, do it quarterly. And then finally, put your annual budget together. That's what you do every year. Put that budget together, and that then puts your process in place. So you've got your daily, your weekly, your monthly, your quarterly, and your annual processes, which means you're all over your performance, your planning is in place, and then again, you've got everything you need to know and understand about your cash and your cash movements. So what does that ultimately mean? So if we go back to the questions we asked ourselves a little bit earlier. Do I get a new salesperson? Do I start a new marketing campaign? Should we invest in a new office or an overseas expansion? Should we pay that dividend? Let's go back to those questions, bearing in mind we've now got information on the performance, on the planning, and also on the cash in the business. So, should I get a new salesperson? You've now got clarity on the average salary of a salesperson. You've got clarity on the average billings that a salesperson brings into the business. You've also got clarity around who's performing over and above the usual. So therefore, you've got an idea of the threshold over which incentives need to be paid or should be paid to get better performance. And you'll also be clear about what your target for the year, for the quarter is. So you'll know how many salespeople you need generating how much revenue every month and every quarter to make sure that you are meeting your budget. So what that means then is your decision-making around whether to take on a salesperson becomes a bit easier and a little bit clearer as well, because you got this information available to you. So yes or no, it's an easier decision to make, an easier decision to evaluate. Marketing campaign, again, if we go back, should we spend that money on the marketing campaign? Well, if we've got clarity on our previous marketing campaigns, if we know our KPIs, how many leads are coming in, what the conversion rates are like, and how many meetings we have in the diary, and how many new clients we bring on board every month. Again, and if we also know things like the average pound value per new client, and then again, if we're starting to evaluate whether our marketing campaign is going to be a useful spend, we can start making that decisions based on the figures we have, which means we can also monitor the campaign as it goes along as well. So easier to say yes or no to that. Again, are we going to set up an overseas office or a regional office? Well, again, we'll have a bit of a budget in place, so we know we've got some contingency, or we're ahead or behind of our budget, which means then we can start looking at a regional office. What's it going to generate? What are the costs likely to be? Do we have the cash in the bank? When is the cash likely to come out on that project? Again, that allows us then to and if we know what our average spend per client, and we think we can pick up a couple of new clients through that new office, again, that decision-making process becomes a little bit easier and a little bit less off the cuff. So again, we can say yes or no. And if you're a business owner and wondering, can I take cash for my dividend for my dream house? Again, our cash flow forecast, knowing where we've got capacity and headroom, and when we don't, we can then plug in those figures into our forecast and then make a better decision, or a decision to take some of it out at different points, because our cash planning, our cash flow forecast tells us everything we need to know. Okay, so I think I've covered most of what I wanted to cover off today. So if you have any questions, please put them in the comments and I'll be happy to answer them. I don't see any there at the moment, so hopefully it means I've explained things reasonably well. But even if you do have any questions, put them in, I'll answer them after today's event if necessary. And then if you do want to get a hold of me, just connect with me on LinkedIn, if not already connected. Or as you can see already, we've got our YouTube channel where all of these LinkedIn live events, all of my podcast appearances, and any videos we're doing on specific topics around budget, management accounts, shareholders agreements, anything that I'm seeing as part of a fractional CFO, or in some cases on some of my exit work, it's all going up onto our YouTube channel as well. So feel free to find that and to subscribe to that as well. And then if you do want to work with me, then I will very quickly show you how we do that. So when I work with businesses as a fractional CFO, I keep it very simple. Businesses sometimes are a little bit fearful of working with somebody at that high level who's got a fairly high day rate. So what I do is I make it easy. We make sure that there's something that is a challenge or a problem for you and your business. We call that the identify phase. And then once we've gone through that, then I can evaluate whether there's enough in there or there's enough of an upside for me to work on and resolve that for your business. That's what we do. We diagnose. If my suggested or outlined solutions feel like they work for your business and solve the challenges you've got in front of you, then what we'll do is we'll spend some time putting a detailed plan together. And what that plan means is that if I'm going to be likely in the business for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, trying to get to grips with those challenges, we'll set out how we're going to work on that basis. I'll set out what the time frames are in terms of when I think we can get that work done. And we'll also prioritize things that are important to you, but also prioritize the things that I think are important for me that you may not be aware of that will deliver on the challenges and solutions that you're looking for. On that basis, then you've got a plan. You can either take that plan away, or it means that if we do come on board and work together, then you're clear about what I will be doing over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 months and where you'll see the benefits and when you should start to see those benefits. So what that means, you've got a little bit more confidence before you take on what is maybe an expensive or a first time role for you. And so just as a final reminder, feel free to drop any questions in the comments below. I'm on LinkedIn, so drop me a line or a DM, or sign up to our YouTube channel, the details of which are just below there. And that's it for today. Thank you very much for attending. We have a couple of future LinkedIn live events coming up in September. They'll be going out on the LinkedIn channel, so keep your eye out for those. And if you do want to get in touch with me, drop me a line in the direct messages, and then we can arrange a call or have an initial meeting about solving some of your challenges. Okay, thank you very much.